one innocent, playful touch. One moment of kindness, and then, everything changed forever. How does a friendly gesture turn into tragedy? Welcome to Back Guys. Today, we explore a story where trust, misinterpretation, and hidden rage collided in a way no one could have seen coming. Before we go deeper into Deja's story, take a moment to let us know, where are you watching or listening from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. It's always powerful to see how far these stories reach, and how united we are in seeking understanding and justice. Once upon a time, it all began with a light, playful touch from 18-year-old Deja Hood as she gently tugged her friend's ear during a relaxing evening together. In that brief instant, everything shifted. Her friend, Jamoria Britton, did not react with laughter or dismissiveness. Instead, in one shocking moment, he made a choice that would irreversibly impact Deja's life. How can a simple and innocent gesture turn into such a tragic outcome? What goes through someone's mind when ordinary boundaries fall away and a routine interaction escalates into violence? This wasn't about ongoing conflict or a fierce quarrel. It was just a friendly ear tug, the kind of thing that happens countless times each day among friends globally. The unsettling truth about violence is how often it flares up unexpectedly. We tend to believe we'd see it coming, that dangerous individuals would clearly signal their intentions. Yet life often proves otherwise. The divide between safety and risk can vanish in seconds, often triggered by seemingly insignificant actions that most wouldn't even consider alarming. This is that story. Welcome to the Killer Next Door Crime Stories. I'm here not only to share what happened to Deja Hood but also to help us understand why it happened and how we can learn from this situation. Because behind every tragedy lie essential lessons that could save lives, potentially yours or someone you care deeply for. Today, we take a moment to honor Deja by delving into her story. Deja Hood lived life with soft hands and a warm smile. At only 18, she had discovered her passion for hairstyling, effortlessly transforming her clients through her skill and meticulous attention. She treated everyone in her chair with kindness and genuine interest, asking about their families and ensuring they felt valued. Her colleagues admired her dedication, noting how she would often stay late to perfect a style, making sure no one left her chair without feeling beautiful. For her, hairstyling was not just a job, it was a way to heal. At the heart of Deja's life was her mother, Lakita Jordan, who described their relationship as unbreakable. They shared texts throughout the day, trading jokes and checking in on one another. When Deja didn't respond that fateful night, Lakita's instincts told her instantly that something was wrong. Deja was never the type to go silent. With her friends, Deja forged deep bonds. She was more than just a friend, she was a sister, as Sarah Evans expressed. Others noted how Deja remembered birthdays, listened without judgment, and showed up whenever someone needed her. Friends affectionately referred to Deja's caring nature as her mom mentality. Even at a young age, she radiated wisdom beyond her years, always ensuring everyone got home safely after nights out, packing extra snacks for friends, or noticing when someone seemed off and offering a check-in later. While babysitting, she absorbed herself in creating fun games and reading stories to ensure the children felt safe and joyful. Taking care of others was second nature to her. Deja thoughtfully planned her future. She dreamed of opening her own salon by the age of 25, envisioning it as a welcoming community space where women could feel empowered and supported. She had already begun saving for business loans and gathering inspiration. Beyond her career aspirations, Deja dreamed of visiting Paris, learning French cooking, and ultimately adopting children alongside having her own, creating a life filled with family, achievement, and a spirit of giving back. If Deja's nurturing spirit reminds you of someone special in your life, like that friend who always checks if you made it home okay, or the one who remembers your favorite coffee order, pause for a moment and tag them in the comments. Let's take a moment to celebrate the caregivers in our lives while we still have the chance. Deja Hood and Jamoria Britton were what many would describe as casual friends. They had known each other for around a year, connected through mutual acquaintances in Tyler, Texas. Their relationship wasn't remarkably close. They would hang out in groups, text occasionally, and lend a hand to each other when needed. Friends described them as friendly but not inseparable, making the following events all the more chilling. There was nothing particularly strange about Deja agreeing to help Britton pack for his upcoming move. As one friend, La Monica Hall, later shared, "From what I know, she was there to comfort him because he didn't have anyone else to talk to." Deja had offered her support countless times before, contributing her time and even bringing along the child she was babysitting to lend a hand. It was simply who she was. Looking back, there were subtle clues about Britton's emotional state that went unnoticed. His apartment walls bore spray-painted labels of loser, something he attributed to an ex-girlfriend. He had bought a gun on the very day of the murder. Friends remarked how he had been unusually quiet and withdrawn following his breakup. Most alarmingly, his intensity regarding his past relationship was concerning yet seemed to go unchecked. No one recognized it as a potential threat. Deja, with her compassionate disposition, likely saw someone in pain and wanted to help, never imagining that her kindness could put her in harm's way. Friendships between men and women can sometimes tread into complicated waters, where expectations can become misaligned, leading to unforeseen risks. Boundaries can often blur. What one person views as friendly support, another may misinterpret. Physical touch can carry different interpretations depending on gender, as societal norms often teach young men that actions from women might come with romantic implications, even when that isn't the case. This misinterpretation can lead to dangerous scenarios when feelings of rejection or perceived slights arise. In Deja's case, what was simply an ear tug, a gesture without any romantic intent, unexpectedly became the trigger for an extreme act of violence. Some individuals harbor rage like a concealed weapon, poised and ready to be ignited. Psychological studies reveal that unexpressed anger frequently latches onto particular stimuli, a gesture, a phrase, or an action that echoes past pain or embarrassment. While someone may present a calm exterior, a storm of emotional turmoil might be brewing beneath. For Britton, the ear tug linked directly to memories of his ex-girlfriend, unleashing a torrent of pent-up resentment directed towards Deja. This psychological whirlwind explains how seemingly well-adjusted individuals can suddenly allow emotion to eclipse reason, allowing past traumas to bleed into the present, making innocuous bystanders the targets of misdirected wrath. On September 25, 2023, Deja's day kicked off just like any other. She went to her morning classes at John Tyler High School, finished a brief shift as a hairstylist, and then volunteered to babysit a 1-year-old for a family friend. Around 5 p.m., she received a text from Jamoria Britton, asking for a favor with his packing. He was preparing to move out of Holly Tree Apartments in Tyler, Texas, within days. Deja agreed, telling her mother she would return in a few hours. Security footage later captured Britton picking her and the child up around 5:30 p.m. from her apartment. By 12:40 a.m. the following morning, with still no word from her daughter, Lakita Jordan reported Deja missing. This was completely out of character for the trustworthy teenager who always kept her phone close. The police commenced their search, eventually focusing on Britton's apartment after his story revealed inconsistencies. When Britton came to pick Deja up, she faced a choice: bring the child or defer helping her friend. Choosing kindness, she decided to bring the 1-year-old she was babysitting, planning to multitask. Neighbors later recounted seeing Deja walk into Britton's apartment with the child, appearing cheerful and engaged in conversation. Inside, Britton had started packing boxes but expressed feeling overwhelmed by the task. The apartment, though modestly furnished, was littered with moving supplies. As Deja entertained the child with toys and a movie, she began sorting through kitchen items, blissfully unaware of the growing tension within her friend. What Deja couldn't perceive was Britton's mental state. Though his relationship ended weeks prior, he was still fixated on his ex-girlfriend. He later confessed that as he stood alone in the kitchen that fateful night, Thoughts of their breakup filled his mind, fueling his anger. This obsessive replaying of imagined confrontations and feelings of rejection created a volatile emotional pressure cooker. Journal entries later uncovered by police revealed Britton's feelings of abandonment dating back to his childhood. His purchase of a gun that very morning hinted at a premeditation of potential violence, albeit not initially directed towards Deja. Psychologists refer to this state as emotional flooding, where overpowering negative emotions impair rational thinking, propelling impetuous reactions. The moment that changed everything arrived without warning. Deja walked into the kitchen, saw Britton standing quietly, and tried to lighten the mood. She reached out and playfully tugged his ear, a harmless, innocent gesture among friends. But for Britton, this action bore unanticipated weight. His ex-girlfriend had frequently touched his ear in a loving way. In his confession, he acknowledged how this simple act triggered a blind rage connecting him back to unresolved feelings. That single gesture blurred the lines of time and context for him, merging past grievances with present actions. What was merely Deja's playful nature became, in Britton's warped perception, a significant provocation, releasing his bottled anger that should have been directed elsewhere. In an instant, Deja found herself the unintentional target of rage with no relation to her. Have you ever found someone's exaggerated reaction to a minor event unnerving? That moment when a small comment or action receives a disproportionate response? If so, please share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help someone better recognize the warning signs of underlying volatility before things escalate into dangerous territory. What followed for Deja was sudden and relentless. Without any indication, Britton seized a glass wine bottle from the counter and struck her from behind. The blows sent her collapsing to the ground, conscious yet bewildered. Court documents recount how Deja looked up at her friend in shock, unable to process the swift transition from a friendly moment to a violent outburst. She reportedly asked, "Why?" as Britton towered over her. Despite her attempts to protect herself and reason with him, her words fell on deaf ears amid his fury. Medical examiners later documented defensive wounds on her hands and arms, indicating that even in disbelief, Deja fought hard for her life, a testament to her incredible resilience. The attack escalated into a horrifying series of events. Following the initial blow with the bottle, Britton struck Deja in the face with his fist. Then, he wrapped his hands around her throat, as if to silence her for good. When that didn't suffice to end her life quickly enough, he reached for a hammer nearby and struck her repeatedly on the head until the wooden handle snapped from the force of his blows. Each surge of violence unveiled an unwavering intent to carry out the act. Yet remarkably, even amid such catastrophic injuries, Deja continued to hold on to life, her spirit refusing to concede. Ultimately leading to the final, tragic phase of the assault. A knock on the door interrupted what Britton had believed to be a completed murder. A neighbor, having heard suspicious noises, came to check on the situation. This moment marked Deja's closest encounter with rescue. Had the neighbor pushed for entry or contacted the police instead of accepting Britton's calm assurance that everything was okay, the outcome might have been different. Instead, he concealed Deja's battered body with nearby items and spoke nonchalantly through the door, appearing completely normal despite the horrific act he had just committed. The neighbor left, reassured by his explanation, blind to the critically injured young woman just a few feet away. With the neighbor now gone, Britton faced a choice that unveiled the conflicting psychology behind his actions. Remembering that 1-year-old still watching TV in his bedroom, he made the conscious decision to safely return the toddler to Deja's mother. During that drive, he seemed entirely ordinary, displaying no signs of the violence he had just unleashed. He handed over the child and explained Deja's absence without raising any immediate concerns. This moment of rational behavior, returning an innocent child, makes the subsequent choices he made all the more unsettling. Upon returning to his apartment and discovering Deja still alive, He actively made the choice to end her life instead of seeking help for her injuries. Britton's account of his emotional outbursts provides insight into how uncontrollable anger operates. Unlike regular anger, which grows steadily and remains somewhat proportional to its source, rage disregards logical thought altogether. It's a neurological takeover, where emotional centers of the brain overpower the rational decision-making parts. When Britton struck Deja, he wasn't making a conscious choice, he surrendered to a primal response. What's particularly alarming is how swiftly the transformation shifted from a harmless interaction to deadly violence. This pattern frequently appears in extreme violence cases. Perpetrators often describe feeling as though they were overtaken or were observing themselves during the act. Britton's case illustrates how rage doesn't simply heighten normal anger, it morphs into something fundamentally distinct, bypassing the boundaries of conventional emotional experiences. The simple ear touch that sparked Britton's fury exemplifies how seemingly trivial actions can trigger buried psychological explosives. These triggers often harken back to experiences far removed from the current moment. In Britton's instance, the ear tug was directly linked to memories of his ex-girlfriend, inducing a swift emotional flashback where past and present collided. Understanding this psychological mechanism is crucial in explaining instances where violence appears to erupt from thin air over seemingly trivial actions. For the one experiencing the trigger, that moment isn't trivial at all, it's the surge of accumulated pain, resentment, or shame erupting to the surface. Potentially violent behavior rarely arises without earlier indicators. Research highlights several reliable warning signs: rapid mood swings that shift quickly from calm to furious, rigid thinking patterns where compromise seems impossible, fantasies about revenge or harming others, a record of cruelty towards animals or others, fascinations with weapons or violence, difficulties in accepting rejection or criticism, and intense jealousy or possessiveness in relationships. Physical warning signs can include clenched fists, fixed, intense stares, raised voice, invading personal space, throwing or breaking objects. Britton displayed several of these alarming patterns: his obsession with his ex-girlfriend, the gun purchase, the loser graffiti in his apartment, which he presumably wrote himself, contrary to what he claimed, and his inability to handle rejection in a healthy manner. These indicators, while sometimes subtle on their own, create concerning patterns when recognized collectively. Two essential psychological concepts explain Britton's actions: emotional regulation, the capacity to manage feelings appropriately, which Britton clearly struggled with. Healthy regulation means being able to identify emotions without being completely dominated by them. Displaced anger, redirecting hostility from its true source towards a safer or more accessible target. Britton's outburst wasn't genuinely aimed at Deja. She merely became the unwitting recipient of the hostility intended for his ex-girlfriend. This displacement is particularly perilous because the substitute target, Deja, had no way to foresee or defuse the reaction. Her innocent actions took on meanings she never intended, ensnaring her in a no-win scenario without her knowledge. What warning signs have you come to recognize in potentially dangerous situations or individuals? Your experiences might hold valuable insights that could help protect others. Share any behaviors or patterns that raise your internal alarm in the comments. Your input may assist someone in recognizing a risk before tragedy strikes. When midnight struck, Lakita Jordan felt an overwhelming sense that something was dreadfully wrong. Deja's usual communication had come to a halt without explanation. Deja was always quick to reply to texts, so hours of silence heightened Lakita's anxiety. When Britton returned the 1-year-old without Deja, his explanation felt hollow. "She's still helping a friend," he said, yet couldn't specify where. Lakita repeatedly called Deja's phone, each unanswered ring intensifying her fear. At 12:40 a.m., she reached out to the police, insisting that this silence was wholly out of character for her reliable daughter. "She never just disappears," she told the officers. A mother's intuition, that intrinsic knowledge that a child is in danger, would prove tragically accurate. Tyler police quickly went into action, contacting Britton as the last person known to have seen Deja. Upon visiting his apartment the next day, officers noticed small but significant details: a muddy shoe in his car, latex gloves that matched those found around the apartment complex. Most tellingly, graffiti labeled "loser" on his wall with what appeared to be blood spatter nearby. Britton claimed a medical issue with his dog accounted for the blood, yet inconsistencies in his story raised suspicion. Behind the apartment complex, past a safety fence, an officer stumbled upon the heartbreaking discovery: Deja's body, partially concealed beneath leaves in the creek bed below. Britton's attempts to conceal his acts reveal a chilling mix of calculation and panic. After assaulting Deja, he methodically wrapped her body in trash bags, secured it with tape, and covered everything with a sheet. At around 3 a.m., he transported her remains outside, discarding them over a fence into a ravine behind the apartment. He returned at dawn to cover the body with leaves, hoping to buy time before discovery. Inside his apartment, he scrubbed away blood evidence, disposed of the broken hammer handle, and crafted a story about Deja leaving with someone else. These actions illustrate a disturbing transition from untamed fury to careful self-preservation. Confronted with mounting physical evidence, Britton's meticulously built narrative fell apart. During questioning, detectives caught contradictions in his timeline and probed deeper into his explanations. Eventually, he provided a complete confession, recounting each horrific aspect of the attack with unsettling clarity. He detailed how the initial trigger ignited his rage, the progression of violence, and his intentional choice to end Deja's life once he realized she had survived the first assault. On September 26, 2023, police charged Britton with murder and making terroristic threats to a family member. His bond was set at $1.05 million. In December 2023, a grand jury indicted him with capital murder charges. The news of Deja's murder sent shockwaves through Tyler, Texas. Deja's classmates at John Tyler High School held a memorial, sharing warm stories of her kindness and creating a scholarship in her honor. Local salons offered free services to the community for a day, donating the proceeds to her family. Friends like Sarah Evans emphasized the importance of focusing on how Deja lived rather than how she met such a tragic end. She cared for everybody, she loved everybody. At her funeral, hundreds gathered, proudly wearing purple, Deja's beloved color. The community transformed their grief into action, with local organizations stepping up funding for youth conflict resolution programs and raising awareness about domestic violence, ensuring that Deja's legacy would help others. Jamoria Britton faces severe legal repercussions for his actions. Initially charged with murder and making terroristic threats, a grand jury later escalated the charges to capital murder in December 2023. This elevation illustrates the heinous nature of the offense and could result in the death penalty in Texas. Court proceedings revealed that Britton has been held in Smith County Jail since his arrest, unable to post the $1.05 million bond. His defense team requested a psychological evaluation, while prosecutors presented his detailed confession as central evidence. The case is moving through the Texas judicial system, with preparations for trial underway, while Deja's family attends each hearing, wearing purple ribbons in her memory. Those who cherish Deja keep her memory alive by sharing stories that embody her spirit. She never allowed anyone to sit alone at lunch, a classmate fondly remembered. Her laughter could brighten any room, another shared. Deja's mother has preserved her bedroom just as it was, with styling products neatly arranged and inspirational quotes still taped to the mirror. Friends crafted a memory book filled with cherished photos and handwritten notes, detailing favorite moments spent with Deja. At her former salon, Clients continued to request Deja-style braids, the unique technique she developed. "We don't remember her for how she left us," her aunt reflected, "but we celebrate how she lived among us." In Tyler, Texas, the community rallied around Deja's memory through tangible actions. Local businesses placed purple ribbons, her favorite color, in their storefronts throughout the town. John Tyler High School founded a kindness club inspired by her compassionate spirit. The city council approved funding for more streetlights near the apartment complex where she tragically passed, addressing local safety concerns. Annual awareness walks now take place on her birthday, with proceeds aimed at providing hairstyling scholarships for low-income students. Most importantly, conversations about anger management and conflict resolution have found their way into classrooms and community centers, planting seeds for necessary discussions surrounding violence prevention. Deja's story underscores the critical need for support systems for individuals facing danger. National resources such as the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233, are available 24/7 to assist those in crisis. Local resources include emergency shelters, legal advocacy, and counseling services tailored for those in perilous situations. Technology aids in the form of the Moonlight app, which connects users to emergency services with just the touch of a button. Mental health professionals emphasize that escaping hazardous situations requires careful planning and support. No one should have to face these challenges alone. Communities must cultivate environments where seeking help is seen as courageous rather than shameful. For Deja, whose nurturing nature defined her, this legacy of protection feels especially appropriate. When assisting friends in private setups, consider these vital safety practices. Share your location with a trusted contact, including when you expect to return. Schedule check-in calls at specified times. If possible, bring someone else to join you. Familiarize yourself with the exits when entering a new space. Keep your phone charged and within reach, whenever feasible. Meet in public areas instead of private homes, especially with those you don't know well. If it's necessary to visit someone's home, inform others of your exact whereabouts. These measures aren't about raising suspicions, they're about building layers of protection that become second nature, similar to buckling up in a car. Explosive anger often follows recognizable patterns before it manifests. Psychologists pinpoint several points of intervention. Observe rising tension, rapid breathing, a clenched jaw, or a raised voice. Create physical distance when these signs surface. Avoid attempting to reason with someone engulfed in intense anger. Logical arguments are futile. Prevention emphasizes aiding at-risk individuals to develop emotional regulation via therapeutic strategies like cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavior therapy. These approaches teach concrete skills for early emotional identification and constructive responses rather than reactive ones. For observers noticing concerning patterns of anger in others, prompting professional intervention before crises arise is essential. If you're worried about a friend's anger problems, numerous resources are available. The crisis text line can be reached by texting HOME to 741 to 741, providing immediate support for individuals grappling with anger or those worried about others. The National Alliance on Mental Health, NAMI, offers educational programs specifically targeting anger management. You can also utilize tools like Psychology Today's Therapist Finder to locate professionals specializing in this area. Many community centers provide affordable or free anger management classes. When discussing concerning behavior with someone, approach with care rather than critique. "I'm concerned about you" is more effective than "you have a problem." Always remember that professional assistance is vital. Friends can support individuals but cannot replace trained specialists. Surprisingly, our bodies frequently recognize danger before our minds do. That instinctive unease, the tightening in your chest, the urge to leave a location, These physical sensations illustrate your brain's innate threat detection capabilities processing subtle cues. Gavin